Hello my wonderful friends and welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing really well. On this channel, as you know, I talk a lot about traveling with a disability and especially as a wheelchair user. And I was thinking, what shall we film this week? And I ran it past Daisy and Daisy actually came up with a really good idea. She said, how about you talk about all of the different places you've visited and how accessible they are and rank them. And I was like, Daisy, do you know what? I think that's a really good idea. So this video is in homage to Daisy. I talk about all of the places that I visited in the last 5 years and we're going to rank them in terms of the travel. And it was a long flight. The accommodations. I think a lot of you will be able to spot a lot of problems here. The attractions. And then we're going to give it an overall score. And these scores are going to be ranked out of daisies. 5 daisies being amazing, 1 daisy being very questionable. So the destinations that we are going to be visiting are Disney Paris, Australia, Morocco, some destinations within the UK, Italy, Paris. So if that sounds like good stuff to you, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing because we've got lots of exciting content coming this summer. This might be a long video, so strap yourselves in. The captain's put on the fasten seatbelt sign. Grab yourself some drinks and snacks and let's get on with this. The first destination that Disney Paris was in 2022 and we flew with EasyJet from London Gatwick into Charles de Gaulle, and I have always found EasyJet to be very, very good when it comes to disability awareness. My brother-in-law and my sister both have hidden disabilities. They found them to be particularly good as well. I also find that the special assistants at Gatwick Airport are very, very good. I found the special assistants at Charles de Gaulle to be really good, very efficient. We had them come to the plane, they took us off on an ambilift and he just fast tracked us through and took us to our car. Did book a car to take us from the airport to our hotel, which made it really easy and seamless. With Disney, I do find their accessibility to be really, really good, and the hotel was really accessible and so was our room as well. I've got lots of tours and videos if you want to go and check those out. We were only there for a few days, literally just to enjoy Disney Paris. They do have their disability access cards, which I did apply for, and all of the rides were accessible apart from just a couple. All the restaurants were great, the facilities were really, really good. And importantly, people's attitudes were really great towards us. I remember going up to the buffet and one of the wait staff saw me and they gave me a tray so that I was able to put them on my lap, you know, without asking. I found them to be really, really good there. Overall, our experience was really great and I couldn't fault it. I would give this a 5 daisy rating. All right, Shauno, now we're going to be talking about Australia.
Oh yeah.
At the end of 2022, we went to Australia for Christmas. We actually flew out on Christmas Day to spend time with Sean's family, which was amazing. And I felt really, really lucky that we were able to do that. We flew out to Australia with Qantas. Now, I have flown to Australia 4 times, twice with Qantas, once with Emirates and once with Singapore, and out of those 3 airlines I would choose Qantas over them all. Emirates were good, but I found the assistance at Dubai airport to be horrendous. No one would talk to me. We nearly missed our flight. There was another disabled man with me and he was like, I've never been treated like this. It was a very, very different experience.
They took us on a tour of the airport.
They really did, and it's massive as well. You do feel a little bit vulnerable and it was a little bit of a hairy situation. Singapore Airlines, I wouldn't fly with again. They left my wheelchair at Singapore and I didn't get it in Sydney until 24 hours later. So that was an experience. And then you got food poisoning, didn't you, Sean?
Yeah, from the prawns.
And Daisy was about a year old. Oh yeah, and then after travelling for 24 hours, Sean with food poisoning, Daisy wouldn't sleep. So I think Daisy was up for like 36 hours and all I wanted to do was sleep. It was the worst flight I've ever had. It was horrendous. But I do feel like since I've experienced that, I feel like I can do anything now. So when we went in 2023, we flew with Qantas and they were fantastic. Their attitudes towards me with my disability were second to none. They had accessible toilets on board. They couldn't do enough to help me. My wheelchair was able to stay on the plane with me, which was fantastic. The layover was great. And the special assistance at Heathrow was great, but also the special assistance at Singapore and then on to Sydney were really, really good as well. A bit like the UK, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on, Australia can be a little bit hit and miss when it comes to accessibility. Some of the hotels can be really, really great. We stayed in an independent hotel chain in a place called Mudgee, which is like a wine region area, and it's where Sean's aunt lives. And I couldn't believe the hotel. It was so accessible and really, really beautiful as well. But then when we went to Sydney, we stayed at the Novotel, where I thought we would be quite safe because it's a chain. It was in fact very questionable, very run down. The access was not great. Excuse me? Just those little things like not being able to reach the kettle or the curtains. The tap was difficult to use and the fixed shower products were placed far too high. I couldn't even use them. The shower head was also too high and the tiles were extremely slippy. The icing on the cake was when the toilet overflowed with these bubbles.
Accessible room was right next to the lift, remember? You just couldn't sleep because it was vibrating all night.
Yes. I understand you want to be near a lift, but you don't want to be that close to the lift. It was like sleeping next to an A380. It was awful. In terms of the transport links in Sydney, I was really impressed. I was able to get on all of the ferries with my wheelchair. I was able to get on the light rail with my wheelchair, and they had really clear marked out signs as to where the accessible entrances were. I didn't go on the regular trains in and out of Sydney, so I wouldn't be able to comment on what they're like or the buses. But on the whole, I was really quite pleasantly surprised at the access in Sydney. That's not to say that it is going to be faultless. There are some areas that aren't accessible, but everything that we went to, they were accessible. What I do find with Australia is that in the last sort of 10, 15 years that I have been visiting, the access has been getting better and better every time I've gone to visit, which has kind of worked out at like every 5 years. Again, I've got videos here, like at Bondi Beach, they've had $1 million renovations to make it more accessible there. Manly Beach was a lot more accessible than it used to be. And when we went up to the Blue Mountains to visit the Three Sisters at Echo Point, that's had a complete renovation, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how accessible they have made it to go around. However, I do find that sometimes they do fall a little bit short when it comes to attractions. For example, we went to Scenic World, vlog here, which was great. It was really good fun. I was really excited to go on like the cable cars and explore the Blue Mountains firsthand. But when it came to the staff's attitudes, they were a little bit sort of like backwards. They were sort of those attitudes that I would experience here in the UK like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, have you got someone else in the queue? Like, have you got
we don't have anyone in the queue.
No, it's just us three.
Just us three.
Okay, do you guys want to go downstairs and join the queue?
This is a bit weird. I have got to wait here, and Sean and Daisy have got to go back downstairs and join the queue.
We've been split up from Gem and we've had to come downstairs.
So I've got to wait for them to come all the way back up. England as well, when we've been to rides like this, wheelchairs obviously they get priority, so normally we would be able to join the queue all together here. That's not necessarily acceptable for everybody. Dependent on their disabilities, they can't be split up from their carer, and some of the access was a bit hit and miss. We went down on a cable car, and then when we got to the bottom, no one told us that there would be a lip like this. It was fine, I was able to deal with it, but if I had a different disability or a different wheelchair, I might not have able to have jumped that lip.
I'm going to do the shopping, the rest of that office work later.
Have you got the list?
It's in my head.
It's dangerous. Here's a mind-boggling fact for you. The population of Australia is almost equivalent to the population of London. That is wild. So you will quite often feel yourself being the only disabled person for miles around. Hopefully, things will continue to develop for the better. Overall, Australia is a great place to visit, and I would give it a 3.5 or 4 Daisy rating. Ooh, now this destination is going to be very much for the adventurous type of traveller. And to be honest with you, sitting here today, I'm quite proud and shocked that I even got there and I did this experience. We're going to be talking about Morocco. I went to Morocco in 2023, I think. Again, you can check out the vlog here, or they will all be listed down below. Morocco, wow, that was an experience, and I was taken completely out of my comfort zone. So glad I went. I'm so glad I experienced what I did. Now, when I went to Morocco, I went with a disability travel company. I wouldn't go with again, but I was glad I went with a company. They were there to help me and guide me. I flew Royal Air Morocco. They were really good. The special assistants at Gatwick were really nice as well. The reason I flew with Royal Air Morocco was because EasyJet will only let you fly solo with a disability if you can independently walk on and off the plane. You can have a mobility aid, you can't wheel. No idea why, because I have no issue with Virgin. So when I got to Morocco and I flew into Casablanca International Airport, that was a very scary experience. The special assistance person who took me off the plane was really not particularly nice towards me, literally throwing the aisle chair around. Off the plane I was like, oh god no, I should have stayed on the aircraft because I didn't have my wheelchair. He would literally felt like he chucked me in the lift, and then when we got out the other side he placed me in the middle of the lift entrance and he walked off there just in the way of everybody, and I couldn't move. I was on a little aisle chair with like little shopping trolley wheels. Then he came back and he scooted me off to somewhere else, left me for about an hour, and my heart was going. I didn't have my wheelchair, I couldn't speak to anybody. Luckily, I had photos of my wheelchair on my phone, so I was like, this is what it looks like, can you help me? Can someone help me? It was a very scary experience, and yeah, not one that I want to put myself through again. I did eventually get my wheelchair and I got out and I managed to get to the car that was waiting for me. I say it was a car, it was like a minibus, and they took me to the hotel. The hotel was okay. I had an accessible room in it. It turned out to be a Novotel in Casablanca. That was accessible, but I found like the food buffet to be very dirty, shall I say. The food hygiene standards probably weren't the same that they would be here, and that concerned me a bit. For example, there was a big bowl of pasta and it was warm on the outside and stone cold in the middle, and I was very ill the next day. We travelled around to a few different places and I found the accessible rooms to be, on the whole, quite good and good for my needs. There were other ladies on the trip with me who had disabilities that were different to my own, and the rooms didn't quite fit their needs. And that's why travelling with a disability can be so difficult, because people's needs are so different. And when it came to the hotels and the terms of access for myself and my needs, I was very pleasantly surprised. The attractions that we visited were made accessible by the company that we went with. They had portable ramps on hand to put up if we needed them, and we did manage to get to everywhere that we wanted to go to. When we were walking around Fez, I think it was very, very dangerous. The roads are very busy, and they're not accessible. There aren't dropped curbs. It's quite wild. It is quite an experience. I did find that when we went to hotels or we went to the restaurants, the attitudes were okay towards disabled people in Morocco. When we were sort of out and about, it could be a little bit sketchy. I did have this one guy just grab my wheelchair and start pushing me. I don't know if he thought he was trying to be helpful or if he wanted money from me for helping me, I'm not sure. So in terms of accessibility, I'd maybe give it a 1 Daisy. Maybe if I was being generous, a 2 Daisy, but you've really got to be an adventurous traveller to visit Morocco. Okay, let's stick to home, the United Kingdom. So a couple of places that I have been to here have been North Wales, South Wales, and again, we've got the videos for you to have a look at. And I have had some fantastic visits to Wales. Great thing about England is it's very small. So you can visit most places within like 4 to 6 hours. Our road systems are quite easy to navigate. You can't really get lost. We've very good signage, and we've got lots of service stations as well, and on the whole they tend to be quite accessible and have accessible toilets. Wales is great. I love the people in Wales. I love the accent. It just always sounds so jolly. We've done some great things in Wales. We've done zip lining at the Zip World. Oh, that was awesome. Really hot on accessibility, and they will make things work for you. Highly recommend those experiences. Lots of the museums that we've visited were accessible as well, and also we visited some really great restaurants. People's attitudes towards us as having a disability, very, very hospitable, very, very nice. In terms of the hotels, when we stayed there, we went for independent hotels. And to be honest with you, the accessibility in the rooms were not great. I would say if you're visiting the UK, stick to your chains. My favourite chain of hotels that I like are the Premier Inns and the Holiday Inns. They tend to be quite good. Sometimes though, again, it can be hit and miss. I've stayed at Holiday Inns where they have been absolutely spot on. But then I've stayed at other Holiday Inns where the bathroom has been tiny. I've hardly been able to fit my wheelchair in there, let alone a power chair. And yes, it is always great to be able to support local businesses or local hotels. But when it comes to accessibility, we've got to do what's right for us. When it comes to the UK, I would give it probably a 4.5 Daisy rating. All right guys, how are you doing? I appreciate this is quite a long video. So we've got 3 destinations left. If you are enjoying this video so far, make sure to give a thumbs up. Consider sharing this as well with your friends, and let me know, have I inspired you to check out any destinations, or let me know, where are you going this year? Next on our list is Paris. I went to Paris for the Paralympics, which was really, really exciting. And what's really, really exciting about visiting Paris is I went on the Eurostar from St. Pancras to Gare du Nord, I think it's called. And this was my first experience on the passenger Eurostar, and I couldn't fault it. It was absolutely amazing. I 100% recommend it. 5-gem rating for this because they were really, really good. There was special assistance. If you do book a wheelchair, then you get a premium cabin and you sort of get a premium service as well. I mean, when does that happen? And that's got to be a perk, right? Staff were really friendly on both sides. I would say actually the French side were better than the English side. Really accessible. I was able to take my Batek, and another friend took her Omeo, and it was really easy to get on and off. I was also really pleasantly surprised at the French people's attitudes and awareness around disability. Taxi people who put us in the taxis were really, really helpful and couldn't do enough for us. The hotel that we stayed in was very, very small. It was accessible, but tiny. And I think that's the thing, you know, you're in a city, so everything is quite small and old. Going around Paris, what I did do was quite minimal, but what I did do is it was okay. It is a very old city, just like London. There were dropped curves, but there were a lot of cobbles as well. I've really thought about accessibility. When you go to the Eiffel Tower, the disabled person can go for free. They've got accessible toilets if you need to use the toilet. We went to a cafe around the corner from the Eiffel Tower. There weren't any accessible toilets there, obviously being such an old building, but they were more than happy for us to go into the Eiffel Tower and use the bathroom. 3.5 or 4 Daisy rating. So we're going to travel to Italy. So at the beginning of this year, I visited northern Italy, which was fantastic. The people were so hospitable. We flew from London Heathrow and we flew with BA. Now, BA, I'm not a fan of BA. BA is British Airways, by the way. I have heard a lot of horror stories that have involved BA and wheelchairs. But on this occasion, I didn't book the flights. I went with a charity called Bullen to northern Italy to have a go at sit skiing. So we flew from London Heathrow, and I'm pleased to say that everything was fine. We had 4 wheelchair users on the flight. All wheelchairs came off absolutely fine. When we arrived at Milan airport, the staff were fantastic. The special assistance staff couldn't do enough for us. They helped us with our bags and our cases and getting us through the airport really, really quickly. Our hotel was kind of like an independent hotel, and the access in the room wasn't quite 100%. I was able to make it work. They had a shower chair in there. It was an independent hotel. It was beautiful. I absolutely loved the Italian people. They were so welcoming, so warm, so friendly. They literally couldn't do enough to help us. As you know, I went sit skiing and we had a fantastic time. It's really made me want to go back to Italy, to be honest. I'm not sure if I can really give it a Daisy rating here. It's kind of just had a little kind of taste of it, a little experience, but what I experienced there, I would give a 3.5 or 4 Daisy rating. So to summarise, I don't think there is a place on earth that you can go to where it is 100% accessible. If there is, then please drop it below because I'd love to visit it. I have heard that Barcelona is really accessible and Lanzarote. They're definitely on my list. A couple of things that I would like to do that are a little bit closer to home are a Brighton vlog, which is my home city, show you around some accessible attractions. And another one is doing a London vlog as well. What would you like to see in London if we manage to get up there? Are there any attractions that you would like to know a bit more about the accessibility? Where is the most accessible place that you've visited? Let me know down below. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, because it was a long one. I'm actually getting a little bit sweaty, getting a bit hot now, but I've definitely enjoyed making this video. I hope it was useful. As always, my videos will be linked down below, how to travel with a disability, and some of my travel vlogs as well. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye!